Hello everyone and welcome to today's techCast webinar, Sage 100 Bank Reconciliation Training, presented by our very own Samantha Carnegie, our Sage Technology Consulting. Moving forward, you will continue to see these monthly webinars that we are calling techcasts that are meant to be more value added to you, our client. You will see a survey pop up at the end of today's techcast where we really do want to encourage and have an opportunity for you to share with us topics or tips you would like to receive from us here at IET Bailey. I'm your organizer, Kelsey Urbis. Today's webinar will be recorded and available online afterwards. We will try our best to keep within the 45 minutes we have allotted for today. We will have all attendees muted throughout today's techcast, but we do highly encourage questions. So please feel free to use the GoToWebinar dashboard, where you will see questions, and then those will then be shared from me to Samantha throughout today's webinar training. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Samantha.
Hello everybody, thanks for joining us today. I am showing the wrong screen here, so let me make sure I have the correct screen displayed. Okay, Kelsey, can you see my screen okay?
I can, but I believe it is your primary monitor. Could you do your second?
I will definitely do that. Okay, is that better?
There you go. Thank you, Samantha.
Okay, so the purpose of this is for training. These techcasts are meant to introduce you or refresh memories on things in Sage 100 that you may not be using or maybe haven't used in a while. So we're going to start with bank reconciliation, and as Kelsey said, we're going to go, we are going to have these monthly, so please let us know what you guys would like to see so that we can be sure to keep you guys interested in these techcasts. You see my lovely photo here. The purpose of this, and I'm sorry, I'm a little worked up here. The purpose of this is to understand what modules integrate with the BankRec module, realize the purpose of the BankRec module, recognize limitations between BankRec and the other modules in Sage 100, and then we're going to walk through processing some transactions between BankRec and the GL, and processing month end and utilizing paperless office when closing your month in BankRec. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started. This is just a short, the basic list of the modules that integrate with Sage 100. There are more modules, so if you don't see a module on here and you want to know if it integrates with Sage 100, let us know. Most modules do integrate with the BankRec module, but you know, they're all going to integrate in different ways. So let us know if you have any questions on that, and we will definitely get those questions answered. The first step that a lot of what I see in Sage 100 that a lot of our clients haven't realized or nobody has ever let them know of is that your bank code needs to balance with your checking account in the GL. So if you go into BankRec and you're in, if you go into the BankRec module and you pull up your bank code maintenance, the bank code here is tied specifically to your general ledger account here. So we need to make sure that your BankRec, or that your account in the general ledger and the bank code that it's tied to in BankRec have the same ending balance. So the purpose, the goal here is to make sure that these two numbers are always in balance. And you can see your ending balance here and your ending balance, your current balance in your checking account here. So when these don't balance, we need to figure out why they're not balancing and get them into balance in order for your bank reconciliation to be in balance. The purpose of the BankRec module, of course, is basically to balance your checkbook. We want to make sure everything that comes through on your bank statement is in Sage 100. Otherwise, you know, our financial statements are off and whatnot. So the first place to do that, the place to start and make sure everything is clean, is to make sure these balances match. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this because they do. So we're going to go ahead and close this out. The next thing I want to talk about are the limitations. I've had a lot of clients call me and ask me why a credit card transaction isn't showing up in BankRec, or they posted a deposit to a sales order in sales order entry. it hasn't been invoiced and they can't find any transaction in bank record, the general ledger. So I just wanted to make sure to mention that when you're using Sage Payment Solutions or credit card processing through Sage 100 in like your sales order or accounts receivable module, the deposits that you make on a sales order, you know, if you're not processing the sales order, nothing is shipped, you're not invoicing, the deposits that you make in that sales order module do not post into the general ledger or the bank rec module until the invoice has been, or until the sales order has been invoiced. So that's just something to keep in mind. If a part of your sales order has been shipped out and you want to apply that payment for that partial shipment, then my suggestion would be to go ahead and invoice that partial order so that your credit card process or the credit card payment gets applied to the general ledger. If you're just receiving a deposit on a sales order that has not shipped, our suggestion is to go into cash receipts entry and process the credit card that way. There is still a shortcoming in Sage, and I know it's something that they're working on, but you know, we don't have any definitive date on when this will be resolved. But any credit card payments that come through Sage do not post to your bank rec module, so you actually have to go in there and manually enter those. And another thing that a common misconception is that when you post something, say in the general ledger, you do a journal entry, a lot of our customers have assumed that when they're hitting that checking account that it's automatically going to create an entry in the bank reconciliation module, and it does not. The same goes when you manually enter an entry into the bank reconciliation module, and a lot of people expect that that will automatically post back to their general ledger journal account or general ledger account, and it does not do that. You actually have to make sure that you're selecting that transaction to hit one or the other, depending on where you start, and I'll walk through both of those things today. So we're going to go ahead and start with some of that. First, obviously, I'm sure most of you have been here into this Reconcile Bank screen where you can pull up the bank code that you're looking at. So obviously, the purpose of this is to compare this screen with your bank statement. So what you want to do is come up here and put the month ending balance from your bank statement here. So you should see here in your checks tab are all of the checks that have come out of AP, any cash receipts entries that have been posted in accounts receivable or credit card payments that have been posted to your customer accounts. You know, all your other modules, all of the things that would affect your checking account should show up here in the Reconcile Bank screen. You can see here what module they have come from, what the amount is. You can see the payee name for the AP checks, service charges from the general ledger, and then you have your deposit adjustment tab here. So your deposit adjustment is going to be anything that has like deposits that have made through cash receipts and et cetera. It's pretty self-explanatory. One thing that I see a lot of is that, you know, in your bank statement you have, say, a bank fee. People assume that when they manually add a transaction here that this is going to hit back to your general ledger account. Just please keep in mind that that is not the case unless we specifically tell it that we need to post back to the GL. So we're going to go ahead and enter an entry, and you can, when you're manually adding one of these deposit adjustment entries, you can just select your entry number. You need to make sure that when you're doing this for the month that the entry numbers increase. It's not going to allow you to enter the same entry number for the same date. So here's where you're going to select what type of entry you're making, and you can see bank charge is one of them, interest earned is another one. So all of these things are options for you here. So I'm going to go ahead and select a bank charge, and we're going to put that it was a $75 bank charge. Now here is where you can select that you want to post that to the general ledger. And when you're going through, you want to make sure that anything that has hit your bank statement that's not in bank rec, you want to either verify that that does not already exist in the GL, but if you know it's something like a bank charge that hasn't, you want to make sure you select it for GL posting. And here's where you're going to choose the expense account that needs to hit. It's automatically, when you select it, for GL posting, it's automatically going to hit your general ledger checking account. This is where you're going to select offsetting entry. So we're going to select an expense account that needs to hit. And I'm sure there's one out here for bank fees, but okay, there's not. So we're going to go ahead and just select an expense account to hit here. Pretend it's, and you can make a comment here. The comment's going to show up here in your comments here so that when you post your bank rec, you can see what those comments are. I'm going to go ahead and clear that. Now, because I had manually entered my balance, my statement ending balance, I'm out of balance by $75. If I was doing this in real life and I had a statement to compare against, my balance would be, hopefully by the end of going through my bank statement and manually entering anything that doesn't already exist in the system, I would be out of balance by 0. So there's that. Now, when you select something for GL posting in bank rec, you actually have to print a transaction register. So down here, there's a shortcut button to it, and forgive that my buttons are not displaying the words properly, but this is going to take us to our bank reconciliation transaction register. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for bank code A because that's where I was. And I'm going to change our date here. So this is the part where I feel like we don't emphasize enough that we need to have paperless office turned on. Even if you don't use it in a lot of your other modules, I highly suggest using it for bank reconciliation. A lot of the reports that you print and post out of bank rec are not accessible to you after the register has been posted. This specific one you could probably see in the GL, but again, I highly suggest using paperless office for this. I'm going to go ahead and preview this just for the purpose of being able to see what's going on here. When you post this transaction register, this is just obviously just showing us what's going on in the GL. So we're going to make this posting entry to the general ledger. So we're going to hit our expense account, we're going to hit our cash account. And we're going to go ahead and close that, and we're going to update that. So what we should see now that this is posted, I'm going to go ahead and post my transaction journal. And again, if you're not familiar with paperless office, at this point, rather than using the preview, we would hit print and print that to paperless office. And please remember that when you preview a journal, instead of using the print and you're using paperless office, it does not create that paperless office document. So again, this is just our daily transaction register where it's going to post this transaction to the general ledger. And update. So what we should see now in our general ledger account, I thought I had that pulled up. Let me go pull that back up. We should see that transaction that we posted. Here's our bank reconciliation transaction register. You can see that it hit our checking account. If we wanted to double click on that, we would be able to see our journal, see that it hit our expense account, which obviously would never be our FICA taxes paid here. But so you want to make sure, again, that any transaction that you've got on your bank statement, any expense, that you put it through here. Another thing I've seen a lot of is that people aren't aware that you can make journal entries in the general ledger that will post to bank rec without having to go into the bank rec module and manually create those transactions. So if you come in here, a lot of people have gone into the general journal entry that I've seen a lot of issues with this, where they just expect that if you come in here and do a journal entry, it's automatically going to hit your bank rec transaction or your bank reconciliation module because you've chosen your checking account as at one of the accounts. Please remember that is not the case. You have to do a transaction journal entry in order to hit your bank reconciliation module. So if we came in here to the transaction journal entry, and I have created, I'm not sure if a lot of people haven't used this function. So if you do not have a BR source journal, what you can do is come into your general ledger setup and come in here to your source journal maintenance. And you want to create a BR, and you can call it something else, but BR for bank reconciliation register. I'm sorry, that's not the one that I want. I was trying to be more prepared for this portion of it. I apologize. you know what, I think it is actually, I apologize. So what you have here, when you select your BR module or BR source journal, you have an offset account here. Again, this is not the proper one. I apologize. I'm going to have to come back to this one because we should see when we select the proper transfer account or source journal, we should have the ability to enter our bank reconciliation bank code here. And I am sorry that I do not have that prepared. I must be in the wrong account code. I apologize. I will figure out where that needs to be and get that resolved. But what you would see here if I had set this up properly, and again I apologize for that, is that you could select an offsetting account number and you're going to say where it's going to be a debit or a credit to that offset account, and then you're going to select a bank code here. Basically what that's going to do is allow you to transfer funds between two checking accounts and to hit the bank reconciliation module with that. So if you're transferring from, say, what your regular checking account to your payroll checking account, rather than having to go into the bank reconciliation module and manually enter that transfer into both of those checking accounts or both of those bank codes, you can do the transfer here in the general ledger, and it'll hit both your general ledger module as well as your bank reconciliation module. So once you've done that, you'll see that in your bank reconciliation. And again, we'll come back to that, and I'll figure out what journal I'm supposed to be using for that. So you would post this just like you would post any other journal entry, and you would see that in your account maintenance in Sage 100 in the general ledger, as well as in your bank reconciliation. Let's see. So another frequent question that I get about bank rec is when you've done your month-end processing. So if you've gone through and you've done your bank reconciliation and you're in balance here and you're ready to post it so that you can clear out that month, a lot of our users are not clearing out at month end. And one of the reasons I've heard is because you cannot get back to that bank reconciliation register once you've cleared it. We still highly recommend clearing that, but again, I'm going to emphasize again on the paperless office. Sure that you're printing that to paperless office. If you're not, export it to a PDF if you choose not to use paperless office, or at the very least print a hard copy. But once you're in balance and you're ready to close out your month, everything is posted to both your bank rec and general ledger, you're going to run your bank reconciliation report. So with your bank reconciliation report, in order to clear out your documents, you want to make sure that you select your bank code here. Now, to clear out for your given month, you're going to enter your, I'm going to use February because I believe I posted that in February. You're going to use your month and date here, and that's going to clear everything that's been, it's going to clear out everything that's been cleared in the bank in Reconcile Bank. So I'm going to go ahead and preview this. Sorry, dates. But again, this is the point where you really want to print that to paperless office. Once this register here has been cleared and you're out of balance by 0, you want to make sure your calculated book balance and your out of balance look good. You can come in here and see everything that's been cleared. So obviously the documents that have not been cleared are not going to be cleared out of your bank reconciliation module or your Reconcile Bank screen. This is the data that is you're not able to get to easily in Sage 100 once you've posted this. So if you're not using the paperless office, you want to make sure to export this to a PDF. And you can see this button up here is your export report button. You can export that to a PDF and save it to your disk, save it to your local, save it to your Sage Drive, wherever you save these kinds of documents. But again, be sure to use this function if you're not using paperless office. Once you close the report, as long as you're out of balance by 0, it's going to ask you if you want to remove cleared documents. So we want to remove those cleared documents so that we can be on top of our Reconcile bank screen, so that every month when you go in, you're not seeing all of those old cleared documents. You know, if you're doing a month-end reconciliation and you have thousands of transactions that you need to go through and clear, the worst thing is to be out of balance and not know where you're out of balance and have to sort through all of those previous months and sometimes years that haven't been cleared out of bank rec. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my cleared documents. But remember, if I did this and I was using paperless office, instead of using the preview function, I would hit print at this point. And what that would do, of course, is print that to paperless office. As long as we have paperless office turned on and configured properly, it would print that to paperless office for us and then allow us to clear that document. And as most of you probably know, if you're using paperless office at that point, it would pull up the PDF document for you to review. So I'm going to go ahead and clear our documents. So once we've cleared our documents, you can come in here to the Reconcile Bank screen, and you can see that all of the documents that we cleared are cleared out of here, so that as we go forward with the month that we're currently in, we're not having to wade through all of our previous month's documents to go and clear our transactions. Okay. And then
Samantha?
Samantha,
we did actually have one question come in, if it's okay if I could
absolutely,
ask
please.
you that question right now. So a question came in, it says, I am sure we have posted to the GL and have not posted bank reconciliation module. We are out of balance from the account maintenance screen and the bank rec screen. Could you please explain how to fix this?
So you have a couple of choices on that one. When you're looking in your account maintenance for your checking account, for this one, it really depends on how far out of balance you are. So if I was looking at our checking account here and I have our transactions, for most of you, the number of transactions in here are giant. If you're only out of balance for 1 month, going through your account maintenance and comparing that to your Reconcile bank screen isn't daunting. And I'm going to go ahead and use the check deposit and adjustment entry screen here. So if I had a situation where somebody made a journal entry into one of my bank rec accounts that doesn't show up in bank rec because it was just a regular general journal entry in the GL, and I went through and I could find which one it is. So say it was this one. There's a journal entry here where it hit the checking account and it was just a regular journal entry. You can see here it was just done through the general journal entry. That needs to hit my checking account in bank rec so that I can balance and clear everything. If you can find it down to that detail and you choose to come in here, you can come in here to your deposit adjustment tab and you can enter in the check deposit and adjustment entry screen, you can enter these transactions. So, you know, this one was from 5/28 of 2010 and it didn't exist in here. We can come in here and enter that transaction here. And you're going to just go ahead and, you know, enter it just like you would. Now, in this case, because this has already posted to the GL, but it didn't post to bank rec, I am not going to select that for GL posting because we've already hit the GL with it. So I'm not going to select this here, but it's going to allow us to put this in here so that we're clearing. Now, if you're in a situation where it's just never been done that way because, unfortunately, you were one of the ones that weren't aware that, you know, when you do a journal entry, it doesn't post to bank rec, and you've got years and years of data that isn't matching. I hate saying this, but we typically will say, let's force balance this through like the end of the year so that you're not having to go through months and years of transactions to find out what didn't hit bank rec. Something to keep in mind for bank rec, we want this to balance with our general ledger. You never want to force balance the general ledger, ever. Not okay. Your accountant would probably cry a little bit if, you know, that was ever suggested to you. But we can force balance the bank reconciliation module because this is just a, you know, think of back in the old days when you had your check register and it was manually where everybody wrote it in. Well, just think of this as I forgot to write in an entry. So you can manually enter this. If you have years and years of adjustments that need to be made, we want to make sure that we force balance your system into balancing your bank code here with this ending balance here. So if we have years of transactions that weren't posted in bank rec, so this number is completely off, what you can do is just enter one large adjustment here and make them balance. And like I said, we can do that through, like, I would say the end of 2015 at this point, so that you start the year off for 2016 good. And what we can do at that point is go through the January of 2016 entries and see what hit your general ledger that didn't hit bank rec, and then we can force balance it at that point. And remember, you can see what that balance should be, so you can come back through, you know, your years here. And at the end of 2015, the ending balance should have been this, but at the end of 2016, this is what your ending balance is going to be. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that this number for the end of, you know, today through 2016 is what you see here. And we can help you. If you want to make an appointment with one of us, we can absolutely help you get there. And then we can walk through any of the questions that you have for getting that imbalance. But what we would do for this particular one would be to just enter that large adjustment, so that we're going to go ahead and clear this. And you want to do it just to get in balance. You don't want to do your forced balance at the same time that you're trying to do your actual month reconciliation. So if I was way out of balance here, and again, let me go back to this bank code maintenance and bank rec, you don't want to just change this number. This is going to throw you off. So what you want to do is make sure that you enter your adjustment into the bank reconciliation module so that you're not out of balance, and that it's going to throw, when you post this, it's going to change this number. So you want to make sure that you throw that number in, that you use your adjustment to make that number match your general ledger. But you don't want to just come into bank code maintenance and change this number. This is just for the purpose of looking to make sure it balances. If it doesn't, then we'll go a different direction. So once we've cleared this, you know, let's say the journal entry that didn't post, then we can change our statement balance to force balance our account. So, but again, you want to do this when you're not doing your real entry, so that when we get our statement, we can make our statement balance with our checking account, so that going forward, we're not having to force balance things every month. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this, and I could post this, and it would clear out just this one entry, so that when I come in, say at the end of February, to do my bank reconciliation, everything balances. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Does anybody else have any further questions?
At this point, we do not have any further questions in the box, but please, attendees, if you have any questions, feel free to do so in the GoToWebinar dashboard, and I'll be sure to relay those back to Samantha throughout our training here.
Please do, because this is definitely something that I I think I've gotten through all of my talking points. So please throw these things at us. One thing to remember, just to go back to the payment solutions and processing credit cards in Sage 100, I'm sure you're all aware, if you're using the credit card processing through Sage 100, that you can, when you're posting a credit card, say in accounts receivable, or if you're posting a credit card payment from sales order to a sales order invoice, that it does not post into bank rec. So there is a report in, I'll make sure where I'm going to see where I'm at here. So if I was in cash receipts entry in accounts receivable and I posted a credit card payment, remember that when I'm talking about credit card payments, you actually have to select credit card. So if you go in here and you create a new batch, and it's a credit card batch or deposit, I apologize, so I'll select a new deposit number. If your credit card deposit number, or if this is a credit card deposit and you're doing cash receipts entry, just select one here. It's this here that is going to affect how it posts to bank rec. So if I choose cash, I have no problem. This is going to post to bank rec. Everything is going to post just as you've always expected it to post. But when you choose credit card, it does not do that. So if I was to come in here and post a $100 credit card payment, And you know, it is very misleading because you're going to process this just exactly like you would have processed any other cash receipt. But then you're going to come in here and you're going to enter your credit card information. This is the portion that does not post to BankRec. So once you've done this and you've posted a cash receipt, a credit card deposit cash receipt entry, you can come in here to accounts receivable, into reports, and you have your credit card settlement report. So this should give you a good idea. And I apologize, my system isn't set up for credit card processing, so I can't actually run this report. But this credit card settlement report is going to give you a good idea of what you posted into cash receipts or through the invoice, sales order invoice entry that will not show up in your cash or in your bank reconciliation. These do post to the general ledger the way that they're supposed to, so you'll kind of want to watch those, but just remember that you need to keep an eye on your credit card processing when you go to do your bank reconciliation at the end of the month. That is about all I've got unless we have any further questions.
We do. We have had several that have come in.
Yay.
So the first one that I would like to ask is, one thing that would help is to somehow be able to lock the checking off of checks and deposits. Someone can easily change that and throw you off. Is there a way to lock these after we check them?
You know, I don't think I've ever been asked that question. Out of the box, I want to say no, you cannot lock these. However, we can give users only read access. So in role maintenance, if there are certain users that need to be able to see this but cannot clear a check, you can lock that down so that they have view access. Again, out of the box, you can't give a user access to clear a check but not unclear a check. There is possibly some customization scripting work that we could do so that once a check has been cleared, only certain users can unclear a check or vice versa. But that's a project we would need to talk through. I will check with the other consultants and see if they know of a way to lock this down so that you can't unclear a check that's been cleared, but at this point I want to say that the answer is no, short of doing some custom programming.
Yep. And then we just responded that as what they wanted, so I believe you covered it. Thank you. Another one that has come in the question is, I don't get an option to clear documents out of my bank rec after running my bank rec report. Is that a setup issue?
The first thing you want to look at there is, are you out of balance by zero? So it's not going to ask you to clear your report unless you're out of balance of zero. So if you come in here to Reconcile Bank and your bank code says out of balance by anything, it will not ask you to clear those documents because it's not going to allow you to clear bank rec until you're out of balance by zero. So if we modified this, to be so that we're in balance, and again, this isn't something you typically want to change. You really do want this to match your statement ending balance, but once we modify that, that's when you're going to get the question about clearing documents. Now, another thing that you might want to look at is if you're previewing your report and not printing it to Paperless Office, there is a setting in Paperless Office that will allow you to not post something unless it's sent to Paperless Office. So if you have that setting turned on and you're going and previewing your report, your bank reconciliation report, it won't ask you if you want to update because you didn't print it to Paperless Office. So the first two things you want to look at are the out of balance by, make sure that's zero, and then do we have Paperless Office turned on to where it's going to force you to print it to Paperless Office before you can post. And I want to say, you can come in here, Paperless Office options, to take a look at that. And just a heads up on Paperless Office, I'm not sure who all knows this, so this may be very repetitive for most of you, but if you come into the Paperless Office module and go into your journal and register viewer, this is where you're going to be able to find what documents you have sent to paperless office. So if you ever have a need to go back to that bank reconciliation register and see what did clear and what didn't clear, you can do that here by entering your company code. You can narrow it down because, you know, a lot of you would have a lot of documents in here. So you can come in here to your bank reconciliation module and put a date range on it. And it will show you the PDFs that have been created. It'll let you double click on those PDFs and view your bank reconciliation register here. But the key is, remember, if we have paperless office turned on and we go run our bank reconciliation report, you want to make sure you're hitting print after you've entered your filters. If you do not hit print, it is not going to print it to paperless office.
Great. We do have a few more questions if you're ready for the next one.
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful. To do the force balance, do we need to check cleared for all old items and reconcile bank through the date we are using to force the balance?
Yes, that would be my suggestion. So if you're going to force balance through the end of December of 2015, my suggestion would be to go through and force and clear all of those old documents. So I worked with a client last week that had documents in there from 2000. It might have been 2007, but regardless, there's no need to have to go and wade through all of those documents from 2007 on. So my suggestion would be to just go in there and clear every document you've got up through December. Remember that when you're clearing December of 15, there is a good chance that some of those documents really haven't cleared yet, so you'll want to kind of reference your January bank statement and see if they've cleared, and then maybe hold off on those and do your December bank reconciliation. But you know, that's really the only way to clear out all of those old documents. And that's definitely a document you're either going to want to export to a PDF so that you can go back and reference it, or print it to paperless office.
Thank you. Another one that has come in, when you perform the bank rec, can you enter a statement ending date?
Oh, okay. Sorry, it took me a second to understand. So what you're meaning is when you come in here to reconcile bank and you're using a statement ending balance, do you want to know if there's a date that's going to correspond with that?
I believe so.
Okay,
yes,
I'm going to assume that that's the case. There's not a place in bank rec where you can enter that date. What you would want to do in that situation, say if you want to clear it twice a month and do February 15th and then a February 28th or 29th in this case, you can enter your statement ending balance, say, through February 15th. Just remember that as you go forward into the next one, you're going to enter your statement ending balance as February 29th or whatever. The statement ending balance is completely up to you. So if you're doing this weekly or twice a month, you're going to use the statement ending balance that you have, but there is no place to enter a date. You do have the ability when you're doing your reconciliation report to only clear documents through a specific date, but that's not going to be the same as your statement ending date necessarily.
Okay, great. We have one other question. We reconcile our accounts outside of Sage, so if I force balance December 2015 and then start by reconciling January, will I just have to do those recons on different days?
Let me think through that one. Say that one more time.
Yep. We reconcile our accounts outside of Sage, so if I force balance December 2015 and then start by reconciling January, will I just have to do those recons on different days?
Yeah, well, yes and no. So when you go through and do your reconciliation for through December of 2015, you're going to post it as of 2015. You're going to use your document date and set your system date here to December 2015 or 31st of 15. When you come in, you're going to reconcile January through January 31st. I'm not sure if that's answering your question, but you could, I mean, if you did all of your old reconciliations, say through November, and then you wanted to reconcile January, you can clear those all through December 31st of 2015. You can have multiple reconciliations for the same date or for the same month. This is just allowing you to enter the document date that you want to clear. But you can do that multiple times. It's not going to lock you down. So once you've posted December 31 of 2015 and you realize there's something you need to go back and change for that period, then you can go back and post to that again. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Another one that has come in is there a difference from printing from bank reconciliation report or straight from the Reconcile bank printing option?
Yes, so the bank reconciliation report is different than what you get from the Reconcile bank screen. So if I came in here to Reconcile bank, this one here is going to allow you to do your transaction register. This is your bank recap report. So this is basically, you can see this is a totally different report. This is just basically going to give you the information on that bank code. So if I did this and I preview this report, you can see that this is a different report than your reconciliation report. It gives you a lot of the same information, but you don't have an out of balance here. So if you're running this report and then waiting for it to ask you if you want to clear your documents, you're not going to get that question because you're not running your bank reconciliation report and you don't see what you're out of balance by. So if that was the button you were using to maybe try and post and waiting for it to ask you if you want to clear those documents, that's why you're not seeing that. So you actually do have to manually come in to your bank reconciliation report over here under your main menu. And I did get have another suggestion from another consultant. I'm not sure if any of you have tried to go in here, but you can clear out or remove. We had a situation where somebody had manually entered adjustment into BankRec, but the adjustment was incorrect and it didn't belong. It had actually posted through another module and did belong in here, but not through a BankRec. So if you look over here and you see that there was a manual entry made, and you can see it was made by the BankRec module, which means somebody came in and manually entered that, you can remove those entries.
Great, thank you. Samantha, we do not have any further questions at this point. With that, are there any items that you would like to close on?
Absolutely not, but I think we're good unless anybody has any further questions, or if you guys want to know a little more information, please feel free to email us. You can email the Sage support inbox, you can email any of your consultant or your CSM and let us know. And please do let us know what other training sessions or techcasts you'd like to see.
Wonderful. We actually, to wrap up, we did actually get one question, and since we do have a minute here, I will actually sneak it in since we have just a few seconds. The question is, if you select the printer button in the bank reconciliation screen, you will get to the bank reconciliation screen.
Oh, well, look at you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes.
I love it when I get to learn new shortcuts, and I apologize for not having done that.
Wonderful. And with that, we will go ahead and conclude our webinar. As Samantha said, thank you all so much for joining. We will have these on a continuous basis, so please keep your eye out for that. Concluding this webinar, this TechCast webinar, you will have a survey that will pop up, and then also you will also receive the recording of this webinar. So please feel free to give your guys' suggestions and potential topics that you'd like for us to cover over the course of the next several months. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful day.